Hello and welcome to Realty Buzz, a show where you are updated to the latest trends on real estate sector. You're listening to Mansee Dave and let's take a look at the top happenings in the sector. The first news says a town in Italy is giving away free homes, but there's a condition. Are you interested in knowing it? Take a look then. The Sicilian town of Ganji, tucked away in the central part of the country, needs newcomers to replace its vanishing populace. So the local government has decided to offer up vacant homes to businesses that want to spruce up the area, with hotels and individuals looking for the European fixer-upper. Ganji, local population of which is 7,000, explained the terms of the deal in the press release. Those who will be assigned the free houses have to bear the expenses for the transfer of ownership. The release explains. In other words, it's your problem now. The formal requirements stipulate that new owners must present a plan for renovation within 1 year of purchase and complete those renovations within 3 years. The fixes won't be quick. Many of the Ganji homes are dilapidated, not having seen any human attention in decades. Still, international attention has been arriving faster than the government can give the houses away. Some of the abodes have already been bestowed to Sicilians in search of second homes and foreigners looking to add to their collection. There are 200 houses left and a waiting list that isn't getting any shot. Ganji's decision to surrender its homes come after several decades of people uprooting their lives in Sicily to live out American dreams and later South American dreams. Between 1892 and 1924, roughly 1,700 immigrants from Ganji landed in Ellis Island. By the 1930s and 40s, New York had been upsurged by Argentina as a hotspot for the new life. With increasing buzz for the houses, City Hall has the luxury of being selected. If you are looking for the summer home, you might be out of luck. We don't want people just because they have money, the mayor of Ganji said, adding that preference will be given to applicants whose goal is to improve not just a house, but Ganji as a whole. The city isn't the first to employ the new strategy. Stateside, small towns like Gary, Indiana, and larger cities like Indianapolis and Detroit have put their displaced homes up for cheap, either giving them away for $1 or offering them outright. The next news says private equity venture capital firms eye Mahindra's affordable home project. The realty firm plans to put 20,000 affordable homes under Happiness over the next 5 years. Going by the current market rates, this entails an investment of around Rs 1,500 crore. Mahindra Lifespace's realty arm of the $16.9 billion Mahindra Group has said venture capital and private equity funds have shown interest in its affordable housing projects. According to Sriram S. Mahadevan, business head Happiness, the parent company will fund part of the investment. The project is targeted at the emerging Indian middle class. Besides expanding in Maharashtra, the company is looking at Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. We will look at a similar scale, developing the project in 15 to 20 acres of land. It depends upon the state policies for affordable housing projects. We will look into these states, said Mahadev. The company's flats are priced between Rs 11 lakh and Rs 21 lakh, with sizes ranging from 351 square feet to 762 square feet. Investment and fundraising activities in the affordable and mid-market housing segments have increased in recent months, following the government's Housing for All plan by 2022. The scheme offers an interest subvention of 6.5% on housing loans to the economically weaker section, including slum dwellers and low-income groups. The International Finance Corporation recently invested $25 million to finance affordable projects by Tata Housing. Similarly, Asia-focused investment firm Equis Funds Group invested Rs 720 crore in the Bangalore-based real estate developer Assets Property Group. Among other investment is one by PE fund Parallel Group, HDFC, IFC and other in Value and Budget Housing Corporation. India needs close to 7 million houses every year. Almost 75% of this demand is from the affordable housing segment. The country needs about 3 lakh acres of land to cater to the affordable housing segment demand according to the reports. The next news on board is tragic in nature. A home where a mummified body was found is only marketed for nearly $1 million. In April of this year, the mummified corpse of the home's former owner was found inside, wrapped in a blanket. The woman had reportedly died 5 years earlier, but her 65-year-old daughter hadn't told anyone that her mother's body was still in the home. Home prices continue to rise to astronomical heights in San Francisco. A home that was recently listed for sale in the inner Richmond neighborhood is a near-perfect example of how bloated the market has become. In April of this year, the mummified corpse of the home's former owner was found inside, wrapped in a blanket. The deceased woman was reportedly a hoarder, and there was so much trash in the home that firefighters had to wear oxygen masks to enter. The home is now on the market for $9,28,000. The home was built in the Victorian style in 1904. It has 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms and sits on the 2,996 square foot lot. According to CBS San Francisco, realtors must disclose that the death happened on the property only. If it happened within 3 years, since the women reportedly died 5 years ago, the house was not subject to the law. Moving on to the next story, Housing for All shelter scheme to exclude rental plan. As part of the earlier proposal, the center was to provide for 75% of the construction cost of rental units. Let's take a deeper look into the story. As Prime Minister Narendra Modi unveils the Housing for All by 2022, rental housing, proposed with an outlay of Rs 6,000 crore, will now be missing from the NDA government's flagship shelter mission. According to officials, the mission originally had provisions for creation of urban rental housing for the homeless population and migrant workers. Affordable and social rental housing were to be included as a preventive measure against proliferation of slums that have so long provided informal housing to those who cannot afford to buy or rent houses. The Expenditure Finance Committee, chaired by Secretary, even cleared the proposed outlay of Rs 6,000 crore for the rental component of the mission. There were varied views within the ministry on the issue, and finally it was decided that the rental element would be dropped altogether from the mission, said an official from the Ministry of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation. It is now proposed that the separate rental housing policy would be released much later. Excluding rental housing from the mission and instead bringing out a separate policy would not help the cause. A mission provides for substantial central grants. A policy, on the other hand, has no outlay by the centre, and without financial incentives, there is nothing that makes it binding on the states to implement rental housing, said a ministry official. As per the earlier proposal, the Government of India was to provide for 75% of the construction cost of rental units. The remaining 25% were to be borne by states, urban local bodies, non-government organizations, or as part of the corporate social responsibility of private firms. The rental housing could be in the form of dormitories for migrant labor and 300 square feet rooms in case of families. These homes were to be vacated within 5 years, by which time migrants were expected to save enough to be able to buy their own home or rent one at the market rates. The 5-year tenure was, however, not applicable in case of destitute and homeless population. Under the original proposal, rental units were to constitute 20% of the total 2 crore proposed houses for the economically weaker sections and low-income groups. With the rental component left out, the Housing for All mission will comprise of only 4 verticals for ownership of houses, namely slum redevelopment, credit-linked subsidy, affordable housing in partnership, and subsidy for beneficiary-led house construction or upgradation. A 2013 report by the Task Force for Rental Housing set up by the ministry noted that since the poor do not have accumulated savings to buy a house, the only alternative for them is affordable rental housing. So that is all for this episode of Realty Buzz. We will be back with more on this. Till then, keep watching Spin TV. Goodbye and take care.